What you see is what you get, and what you don't is better yet. I'm your host, John Heinis, talking the latest and greatest in Hudson County news. Things are heating up in our 8th Congressional District primary. That's set for June 2nd. And of course, we have Congressman Rob Menendez, who joined me last week, running against Jersey City Board of Education President Mussab, who I'm fortunate to have as my guest today. A lot coming up when we're talking about U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Of course, we know them as ICE for the most part, and there's a lot of conversations to be had there beyond the primary, because of course there was a pretty significant raid in the Jersey City Heights on Sunday, and I actually heard back from the federal government where they told me that 10 people were arrested. And of course there's 2 videos that went viral there, at least 2, but 2 that a lot of people have seen, and we're going to tell you about what happened there. We're also going to chat a little bit about the primary in the sense of the Hudson County Commissioner races. Of course, we had an open seat in the 3rd district, and it technically still is, but everything else is a formality from here. And we have perhaps a new candidate for that primary, so we're going to chat about that. And then something that we haven't heard about in several months, but HHI Heliport out of Kearney, of all places, has a court hearing in Kearney Municipal Court tomorrow to determine how they're going to operate going forward. There's a zoning use permit challenge being heard. So we're going to chat about all that and a whole lot more right after this word from our sponsors.
Newport, the luxury waterfront community on the Hudson River, offers a quality of life you deserve in one of our many high-rise towers. With amenities such as the on-site Newport Path, light rail, Newport Town Square, 3 playgrounds, dog run, upscale restaurants, retail giants like Kohl's, JCPenney, Macy's, and Target. Morton Williams and Acme Supermarket are just outside your front door. A health and fitness center, skating rink, and medical facilities are also on site. Enjoy the New York skyline from our waterfront and various parks. Manhattan is just 1 pass stop away, or quick ride through the Holland Tunnel. Nursery and private elementary schools all on site. 12-screen movie theater at the Newport Center Mall. Looking to visit? Stay at the Westin or Marriott Hotel. For more information, visit us at newportnj.com. Make lasting memories to cherish forever. It's incredible. It's you, Newport. Live like you want.
Hudson County View live at Uncut, John Heinis. So let's talk about what happened in the Heights. So the long story short is, a lot of people didn't have a typical relaxing end of the weekend. So basically, there was the 9th Street Hudson Bergen Light Rail Station, also the Congress Street Station for some in the Heights. And the interesting thing about that, if you're not familiar, at the top of the platform where people go into the elevator is the Heights, and then below where the tracks are is Hoboken. So with that said, we saw a Nixon alert from Hoboken Mayor Emily Jabbour, and she said that several individuals, quote unquote, were apprehended by ICE. And, she just talked about how the city remains a sanctuary city, fair and welcoming city to be precise. And, they support all immigrants regardless of where they were born, so on and so forth. And then we didn't really hear a heck of a lot more until yesterday, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. You saw the video that I uploaded to our social media platforms, and you see a guy riding his bicycle at the top of the platform in the little vestibule area. And ICE agent approaches him. He's detained, and he exchanges some words with a woman who was filming. And I mean, that's the long story short, but this was obviously not something you see every day, where basically apprehension into an arrest from start to finish is captured on film. And it's not an incredibly long video. It's about 3 minutes, 19 seconds or so. And then similarly, Jersey City Ward D Councilman Jake Efros actually got the same ICE agent on camera, and he's asking them what they're doing. And of course, they say they're doing enforcement action. And from there, it kind of devolves, and the agent ultimately says, when being questioned if he has a judicial warrant, you probably saw he said, "We don't need a warrant, bro." So very interesting stuff, and it even got a reaction out of Governor Mikey Sherrill, who said that we uphold the rule of law here in New Jersey, paraphrasing. And that was all we heard for a few days. Of course, Efros did have this community meeting that evening, and the Hoboken had their own community meeting as well, and both were quite well attended. Efros's, which was a hybrid meeting, I heard had over maybe 600 to 700 people all in, which is obviously a great turnout for any kind of Jersey City community event. Now, staying on this topic, I actually heard from, of all people, U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Tricia McLaughlin. She's the Assistant Secretary, and she served as a spokeswoman for ICE. And basically, she told me on February 1st, ICE conducted a targeted immigration enforcement operation in Jersey City, New Jersey, to arrest 10 illegal aliens, including multiple illegal aliens who committed felonies by illegally re-entering the U.S. All 10 illegal aliens remain in ICE custody pending removal. Under President Trump and Secretary Noem, if you break the law, you will face the consequences. Criminal illegal aliens are not welcome in the U.S., end quote. And she asserted that the Jersey City Police Department was notified of what she called the targeted immigration enforcement operation, but Jersey City spokesman Nathaniel Steyer told me that I can 100% confirm JCPD was not notified. So, you know, he said, she said, but that's about all we know. She also made it a point, McLaughlin made it a point to say that there were no arrests made in Hoboken. So perhaps that was a separate operation, perhaps not, but that's all the information we have at this time. So moving on to another primary race with the Hudson County Commissioner. So of course, Assemblyman Jerry Walker was the commissioner for the 3rd District for a couple terms, and Celeste Williams was named by the Jersey City Democratic Organization on Thursday as his potential successor. Technically, she was nominated in a unanimous vote, and it needs to be approved by the commissioners at their next caucus, which is on Tuesday, but I think it's pretty safe to say that's going to be a formality. Looks like this thing is signed, sealed, and delivered. Now, with that said, that interesting point, you guys remember on some of the initial pointing from my colleague Dan Israel, mentioned that this was going to be a consensus pick between Jersey City Mayor James Solomon and Hudson County Executive Craig Guy. Compromise would probably be a better word, compromise pick. And she wasn't going to run in June. Well, now, according to Walker, he said that that might not be the case. He specifically said that if she wants to run, it's her God-given right, and I think that's what she wants to do. And he said if she does decide to run, that he will support her. And in a statement, she said, I am deeply honored to serve on the Hudson County Commissioner Board and humbled to be the first African-American woman in this role. I want to thank Assemblyman Jerry Walker for believing in me and putting my name forward. So she did not answer any text messages or phone calls about if she's going to be a candidate on the ballot on June 2nd. So going to keep a close eye on that one. And at the moment, the only other person who's expressed an interest in that seat is Hudson County Anti-Violence Coalition Executive Director Pam Johnson, who of course ran for City Council last year and came in a close 3rd place. So with that, folks, we're going to take a quick break. When I come back, I'll be sitting down with 8th District Congressional candidate Mussab Ali.
Consumer Carpets, 3408 Kennedy Boulevard in the Jersey City Heights, your one-stop store for residential and commercial floor treatments, carpeting, linoleum, tiles, laminates, hardwood floors, area rugs, remnants, all major brands, all in stock. Free estimates, same-day installation. Consumer Carpets, it's savings, selection, installation. Credit cards and debit cards accepted. Financing available. Consumer Carpets, price to fit your budget, installation to fit your schedule. On the net at consumercarpets.com. Consumer Carpets, Jersey City, 201-792-2712.
Panapinto Properties, Jersey City, shaping the workplace with state-of-the-art office spaces and addresses your company desires. Building residences that define your home environment, adjacent to all modes of transportation with on-site parking available. The right address, the right lease. Call 201-521-9000 or visit online at panapintodevelopment.com. Panapinto Properties, building Jersey City for everyone.
Hudson County View, live and uncut. John R. Heinis, and as I just mentioned a few moments ago, today my guest is 8th District Congressional candidate Mussab Ali. Mussab, thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me, John.
All right, so obviously, you had the Jersey City mayoral race last year. You came in 4th. Though you outkicked the coverage in a lot of people's eyes, roughly 12,000 votes. You beat the sitting council president, and here we are just a couple months later, you're running for Congress. So, obviously, you didn't need a lot of time to make a decision on this. Why were you so confident this was the right move?
Yeah, I mean, John, when we were running our campaign for mayor, we had people talk to us all the time about healthcare, about immigration, about money being spent abroad instead of being invested here at home. And I said to myself, I looked at our leadership in the 8th District, and I said to myself, look, it's important that we have somebody who's going to choose courage, right? Someone who understands that America is wealthy enough to care for everyone, but the only thing missing is the courage to do it.
All right, fair enough. So now when you're looking at your platform and you're looking at the congressman's record, and you heard him talk about it right here last week, what do you think separates you guys? Because a lot of people, for example, in 24, when he ran against Mayor Bala, they're like, well, these guys just believe in the same thing. If you get down to it, if you get away from the Senator Menendez attacks, there's not really much difference. So why do you think this is different?
I think we're completely different, John. I'll be honest with you. All 5 points that we are running on, one of them the congressman just agreed to this week, but the other 4 points we disagree on, right? So the first thing that we're running on is Medicare for all. My opponent has taken money from pharmaceutical lobbies across the state, across the country. We're talking about people like Eli Lilly, Johnson & Johnson, Gilead, Novo Nordisk, Novartis. These are all companies that have donated to the congressman. That's why he can't come out and say he supports Medicare for all, something that would support every single person to make sure that just because you got cancer, you're not going bankrupt. The second thing that we're fighting for was abolish ICE. I was very happy to see that the congressman joined our platform on that. I mean, he's been hesitant. People have asked him if he wants to abolish ICE directly. And the first time he used the word abolish was this week. And I think that's a direct result of the pressure campaign that we've been building. The third thing that we're running on is actually to get money out of politics, right? So no corporate PACs, no APAC. If you look at the last quarter's filings, the congressman had less than 10 donations from within the district. Less than 10% of his money came from within the district. And he took $10,000 from APAC. I mean, these are special interests that are buying the election. He is not getting money from everyday people. He's getting money from the lobbyists out of Washington. And we want to make sure we get rid of that platform. The fourth thing, we're talking about, stopping endless wars, investing in schools and hospitals here at home, not bombing them abroad, right? So to me, it's really important that we have a very strong platform, that we completely distinguish ourselves from the sitting member of Congress. And how do we fund a lot of these things? That's the last part of our platform, is tax the rich. We want to make sure that the ultra wealthy are taxed. Right? I did not grow up with the silver spoon. I didn't go to private schools growing up. I went to public schools right here in Jersey City.
All right. So obviously, you know your platform well, as I would hope you would. And but seriously, you gave me a lot to chew on. So let's go to Medicare for all. So now this is something that's been going around the House and Senate for the better part of at least 2 decades, and there has been Democratic majorities in both chambers, and it hasn't really moved. So, even though this is clearly something you're passionate about, and progressive Dems are passionate about, well, why would this be different? I mean, if you get in, what could you do to make this, have any kind of movement at all?
Yeah. I mean, again, John, that Medicare for All platform is directly tied to the people that I take donations from, right? If I was taking donations from the pharmaceutical lobby or from insurance companies, I wouldn't be able to support that platform. And what we're doing is we're building a coalition of people across the country that are saying, look, we're going to stand up to pressure against Big Pharma. We're going to stand up against the insurance companies, and we're going to fight for something that we actually believe in. And this is not just a progressive platform. I mean, President Obama, when he was running, right, if you read his book, he wanted Medicare for all, right? People wanted to expand Medicare to cover every single person. Most industrialized countries around the world have this, right? We are actually the outlier here. In most countries around the world, just because you have a health incident doesn't mean you're going to go and face bankruptcy. But here, medical debt is one of the leading causes of bankruptcy. That doesn't need to happen. And all it takes is courage. People who are standing up and fighting for it.
So with that, on the that's more the, I guess, the philosophical and the right reason to support, however you want to look at it at home. But, let's say there's a blue wave in these midterms, as a lot of people are predicting, and the House and Senate go blue again. Even so, based on what we know, again, back to Obama, do you really think the votes are there for this to happen?
I think it happens over time, John. Again, the question for me is not about can I get this done next year. The question for me is, are we going to elect someone who has the courage to fight to make something like this happen? Look, back in 2018, there were people who were running on an abolish ICE platform, right? That was the vast minority. And people said to them, look, you're going to run on this platform. No one's ever going to follow it. And now you're seeing mainstream Democrats like Congressman Menendez come along to this platform, right? Saying we should abolish ICE. Pressure works. And so the same way we put pressure to get people to say abolish ICE, we're going to put pressure on this country to get us to a place where we can say Medicare for all.
Okay. Now, I have a lot about the ICE topic, but we're running short, so why don't we just take a slightly early break, and we'll be back in a few moments.
Comprehensive healthcare is here, here, and here. RWJ Barnabas Health is healing, enhancing, and investing in Hudson County with its 2 newest locations, Hoboken and Exchange Place. Within walking distance or accessible by mass transit, our locations combine convenience with primary and specialty care, including cardiology, women's health, orthopedics, cancer care, and more. Let's be healthy together.
Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, Jersey City. Hudson County's only monument maker, serving all faiths and cemeteries. Design, studio, and large inventory on site. Cemetery inscriptions and custom orders welcome. Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, just south of Secaucus Road. Craftsmanship that will last for all eternity. Burns Brothers, Jersey City, Albert H. Hopper, North Arlington. Visit us on the net.
Hudson County View live at Uncut. John Heinis, and I'm still here with 8th District Congressional candidate Mussab Ali. So yeah, you went on offense yesterday talking about ICE, and you basically said the congressman has now adopted your position, and then one of his allies, somebody who endorsed him, Bonnie Watson-Coleman, punched back a little bit. I think most people that are watching this have seen it. Well, as part of the legislative branch of the House, you guys would have the ability, as a group, of course, to put your heads together and say, ICE is unconscionable, they're bad, et cetera, et cetera. This is what we're going to do instead. So what do you think the alternative would be if ICE was abolished?
That's a great question, John. So in 2001 is when ICE was established. Prior to 2001, it's not like we had open borders. What actually happened is immigration was under the Department of Justice. And the reason that's so important is the Department of Justice has to operate under due process. What we're seeing right now under DHS is ICE is basically a lawless agency that can do whatever they want. I mean, the loopholes that exist, they can literally detain somebody because they speak Spanish. They can detain somebody. I mean, the recent rulings now have said it used to be like someone who's a risk of leaving, right? A flight risk. Now it's, do you think this person has the ability to move out of the area that they're in, right? So ICE can literally detain you because they're like, this guy's on a bike, this guy's walking, he has the capacity to run away from me. I can go detain him just because he speaks Spanish. I mean, like, that is unconscionable, right? That is what's allowed in this country right now. That agency can't be reformed. Someone who's signing up to do that cannot continue to work for our government. And so I think you go back and have it under the Department of Justice. You're still going to have immigration protections that are put in place, but we will have a due process.
And would there be an agency that replaces ICE, or how would that look?
So again, you can shift that funding under the Department of Justice.
Yeah.
And there was an agency that actually literally did immigration prior to 2001. And keep in mind, the whole farce around how ICE came to existence was they said, hey, we need to have ICE because of what happened in September 11th. Everyone who came in September 11th, right, the people who did those unconscionable things, they all came through legal immigration means.
True.
And so you say, hey, these people all came through legal immigration means. Let's set up an agency to take care of people who may not have come here legally. Doesn't make any sense.
All right, point taken. Now, you also mentioned about, the power of the people and basically no allegiance to corporations. So with that said, I mean, the last race, and again, every race is different, obviously, but all in, including the PACs and the independent expenditures, it was almost a $5 million race, and the challenger still lost by 15. So I don't know what the numbers are going to look like at the end, but don't you think that's going to make it tough to compete?
I think it will, John, but I think at the end of the day, I think people want someone who speaks plainly. And I say this all the time, right? It's very expensive to lie. It's very cheap to tell the truth. And my goal is to tell the truth, right? My goal is to talk to people openly about what I believe and to stand on principle. I mean, Congressman Menendez was here and talking about how he's a progressive. I'm happy if he wants to take that label, but he himself has called himself a moderate, right? And so I think that's traditional Washington doublespeak. On one hand, you're calling yourself a progressive. On the other hand, you're calling yourself a moderate. I just want to know where he is.
All right, makes sense. Now, another thing is, look, you obviously, you're a young guy still, 28, I believe, and, you've been through a lot. Obviously, you've been the school board president, which, with all respect, I think probably took some years off your life. That's not a tough place to work. I mean, that is a very tough place to work. And then, of course, thank God, you beat cancer, and, you got the Harvard Law degree. I mean, you didn't have to run for office, right? There were a whole bunch of other avenues you could have taken. I'm sure you could be working at some place like, Bank of America corporate. So why not do that?
Well, John, I'll be honest. When I was diagnosed with cancer, I had an opportunity to ask myself what I want to do. And the funny thing is, I think a lot of people wonder about that, right? If you only had 6 more months to live, what would you want to do in your life? And what's amazing to me is I realized I want to be in public service. And think about it. When I was diagnosed with cancer, no one would have blamed me for resigning from the Board of Education, right? From stepping back. But I said to myself, you know what? I'm actually making a difference in my community, and I want to continue to do that. And so I've never wavered from public service, right? When my opponent graduated from law school, he went and worked at a big corporate law firm. I had those same job offers, John. I could have done that. And I chose not to. Because to me, it's important that we choose courage. And I want to provide that pathway to people that say, hey, you can actually earn your right in public service.
True. And then just, Harvard Law is obviously, that's not exactly a degree you get printed out online, right? That took a lot of work, and it's a prestigious school, certainly. So, you think you'll ever use that degree 5, 10, 20 years from now, or you just think that life's not for you?
I think that I'm using that degree every day. I think what you learn in school doesn't necessarily have to be applied in just one profession. I think it can be applied across the board. I think lots of things that I learned there, I can apply to the way that I think about policy, to the way I think about how law works, and the way that I understand that America is wealthy enough. I mean, when you hang around the people who are the offspring of some of the wealthiest people in this country, you come to understand that the biggest divide in this country is not left versus right. It's top versus bottom.
And we'll end on an easy one. So last week, I should say, Congressman said he's happy to debate. He seemed enthusiastic. So where do you stand on that?
I would love to debate him tomorrow. I'm happy to debate him later today. I mean, I am open anytime, anywhere, any place. I'm happy to have multiple debates throughout this cycle so that voters can distinguish the difference between myself and Congressman Menendez and really judge him on his record, which I think has failed the people in the 8th District.
Fair enough. And we got a few seconds. So any final thoughts, Mussab?
The last thing I'll say is, one of the big things we talk about on this platform is the fact that there are no kings in America. No kings, no crowns, no heirs. And the reality is, the way the congressman got the seat, it was inherited like it was a family heirloom. It was not earned.
All right, Mussab, best of luck. We'll certainly be talking to you. Ladies
Thanks,
and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. We'll be right back.
No one plans on heart disease, but everyone should have a plan for it. We help patients of all lifestyles and medical histories plan for healthy hearts. We offer convenient screenings without judgment, hundreds of preventive programs, and women's heart specialists. And we're the largest cardiac surgery program in New Jersey. Make plans for a healthy heart with RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together.
Newport, the luxury waterfront community on the Hudson River, offers a quality of life you deserve in one of our many high-rise towers. With amenities such as the on-site Newport Path, light rail, Newport Town Square, 3 playgrounds, dog run, upscale restaurants, retail giants like Kohl's, JCPenney, Macy's, and Target. Morton Williams and Acme Supermarket are just outside your front door. A health and fitness center, skating rink, and medical facilities are also on site. Enjoy the New York skyline from our waterfront and various parks. Manhattan is just one pass stop away, or quick ride through the Holland Tunnel. Nursery and private elementary schools all on site. 12-screen movie theater at the Newport Center Mall. Looking to visit? Stay at the Westin or Marriott Hotel. For more information, visit us at newportnj.com. Make lasting memories to cherish forever. It's incredible. It's you, Newport. Live like you want.
Hudson County View live on Uncut, Chad Heinis. So quite a few more items that I wanted to talk to you guys about. So actually this one I think is notable. Obviously fellow Jersey City residents know that the snow removal operations did go as well as we would have hoped. Now of course it was a lot of snow, freezing temperatures. So it was a difficult situation by all means, but obviously a lot of us are disappointed. I mean, personally, I had to dig my car out 4 times in 1 week, which, isn't exactly what my idea of fun is. But with that said, just the other day, actually on Monday, we heard from Jersey City Hall and Department of Public Works Director Greg Kearse is actually leaving the city on April 15th, well, as DPW director, but he's going to stay the head of the city's Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security. So an interesting turn of events. It's rare that you see a director leave, but not totally leave. So this is a national search, according to Mayor James Solomon, and he said from day one, this administration has been committed to delivering a city government that actually works for the residents of Jersey City. That starts with getting the basics right. I am grateful to Director Kearse for his leadership during this transition and for his continued service protecting our city as Director of Emergency Management. So if anyone is interested in applying or knows someone who's interested, they should submit their resume and cover letter to join.solomon.transition@gmail, or they could simply go on the Jersey City Jobs portal. So if you're not familiar, all you have to do is Google Jersey City Jobs portal, and then you just click through. So let's see what happens there. And what else is going on? Well, we have a new Union City police chief. So Walter Lorenzio, that's just the 16th chief of the department. Obviously, that's not that many, considering they've been around for a whole century. And, he's succeeding Anthony Facchini, who retired in late November after 27 years of service. And he was sworn in at the Esther Salas School in Union City. That was last Thursday. And we heard from State Senator and Union City Mayor Brian Stack. He's also the City Commissioner of Public Safety. And he mentioned that Lorenzio was the first Hispanic chief of police. And he said the Union City Police Department is in great hands, and the residents of Union City are fortunate to have him lead our police department. Congratulations to Walter and his family on this great achievement. So pretty short and sweet, but best of luck to the new chief. So we're also, as I mentioned at the top of the program, I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you about this Kearney Municipal Court hearing. So back in October, probably most of us, frankly I did, forgot about this zoning use permit hearing for HHI Heliport. Technically, they're Hilo Holdings on paper, the LLC, but we mostly know them as HHI Heliport. They're based out of Kearney, and we've seen a county-wide crackdown, or at least attempt to do so, on non-essential helicopter travel, and this would be a fairly significant step that, of course, goes beyond any resolution or ordinance. So, we've heard Hudson County Executive Craig Guy and U.S. Rep. Rob Menendez try to crack down on it. Menendez has put up a couple bills in the House. Obviously they haven't made it all the way through yet, if they're going to move at all. But nonetheless, that hearing is actually set for tomorrow morning. And Kearney Mayor Carol G. Doyle said that there will be a virtual link available. So obviously, as soon as we get our hands on it, we're going to post that publicly so you guys can watch if you're interested. And not really too much else to say other than this has been going on for quite a while, guys. Years really, trying to regulate the helicopter travel here in Hudson County. Obviously, anybody that lives in the Heights, Turtle Square portion of Jersey City, and many portions of Hoboken knows how disruptive it can be, super loud and with no notice, no advance notice. So it just kind of hits you like a ton of bricks. So let's see what happens. But that hearing again is going to be at Kearney Municipal Court. That's tomorrow, and that's going to be at 10:30 a.m. So with that, folks, we're going to call it a week. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.